This is about stuff. George Carlin had a well-known bit about stuff. The premise was that people had a lot of stuff, and they were very protective of their stuff. Their houses were filled with stuff. They had more stuff in the basement, and more stuff in the attic, and more stuff in the garage, and maybe they had a shed in the backyard for more stuff, and lots of people had storage lockers filled with stuff. That's true, and he made it funny. But I've had a recent encounter with stuff, a lot of stuff, a ton of stuff, and it wasn't very funny at all. It was, I'm not certain what it was exactly. Sad, for sure, depressing, exhausting, irritating, all of that, and all at once, like you've been buried by an avalanche of stuff. My wife's mother died a while back. We've been after her for years to get rid of her stuff, at least some of her stuff. She did not. Quite the opposite. She liked to acquire stuff. She'd see stuff advertised on TV and she'd send away for it. And she lived to be 98, so she had plenty of time to pile up a lot of stuff. When she died, we were charged with getting rid of it. We sold her car. At 98, she still had a car. In order to sell her house, we had to empty it. We contacted an auction house, and they came and looked it over. We asked them to take everything, some to be sold, some to be tossed in a dumpster they dropped in the driveway. It was our job to take what we wanted and pack as much as we could of the smaller stuff into boxes. This was an arduous and mind-numbing task. There was one drawer filled with glass lids. There was a drawer with nothing but cheese graters. Another drawer full of cutting boards, rectangular cutting boards, circular cutting boards shaped like paddles, cutting boards that looked like bunnies. There was a drawer filled with jars of jewelry polishing cream. A drawer of strainers. And none of this was junk. It was all good stuff. Don't get me started on the clothes, the cut glass, or the sterling silver. The auctioneer came and took pictures. He really started salivating when he came across the crockery in the basement. Old lamps off a Model T had him shaking his head. There was plenty of beautiful old furniture and half a dozen trunks, a dozen hurricane lamps, and a copper coal scuttle with colorful ceramic handles. Beautiful stuff. So much stuff. Sets of dishes. He said the dishes usually wound up in a landfill. They were lovely, but nobody wanted them. We admired many of the things in the house, but we stopped ourselves with the question, where would we put it? What would we do with it? So it would all be sold at a fraction of its value, or be pitched into that dumpster. I saw a gorgeous, long-haired doll sitting in a little sleigh. That would play well on the Antiques Roadshow, I told my wife. And the Antiques Roadshow is all about finding treasures, sometimes pulling them out of dumpsters. But now we were faced squarely with the fact that those treasures were just more stuff. Stuff! We were determined to try to limit our stuff, not to put a burden like this on our children, who have already made it clear that they have too much of their own stuff and are not interested in ours or their grandmothers. Now when I think about stuff, I think about Jacob Marley summoned out of the grave in a dream, walking out of the sulphurous tomb, clad in locks and chains, weighted down by all the worldly stuff he hoarded when he was alive. He's groaning from the weight of all that stuff, chained to it for eternity. Now I try to think, what is precious? What do we hold dear? And I find myself praying that it is not more stuff. I feel as if I've seen enough stuff for a lifetime, and none of it was mine.